Hat trick, yes. We are going to go into the game soon here. It looks like we are. And yeah, these players have chosen the Dragon Warrior for Kin first, and ChongGEr has decided to go with the Shaman. So it looks like Kin has kind of won out on the pick here. This is a bit of a favored matchup for him, and ChongGEr does not look happy at the moment.
Well, yeah, ChongGEr needs to find some of his early minions, and Kin actually was looking for a dragon, but he did not get the dragon synergy up there for his Alexstrasza champions.
Right, and he only has one more draw in order to be able to coin out that Alexstrasza champion on turn 1, as we do see that great graphic with Thrall and Garrosh. All right, ChongGEr has a pretty reasonable turn 1 here, just going with that Tunnel Trog. And
Yes, I could actually hear the crowd outside getting excited because I think they're getting excited because ChongGEr's starting hand looks great, and Kin doesn't actually have anything to take out this Trog yet.
Right, a dragon off the top there would have been a brutal punish here for ChongGEr. It actually was a decision to make whether he went for the Abuse Sergeant, as strange as it sounds, because you know, maybe you want to bait out the removal on it. All right, so it looks like the choice there was the Paladin and the Shaman, as well as the Mage here. So Mage looks like, I mean, pretty much the best one by far. You want to be able to ping off stuff with that hero power. And as an aggressive deck, you don't really miss the armor up that much unless you get pretty far behind.
Right, I actually think the Mage hero power for Dragon Warrior is one of the best because you have the option to ping, execute, or even ping and activate your Grom, or just help pinging off some minions off your opponent's board.
This is the nightmare for the Dragon Warrior. You get all of the minions that benefit off of dragons and none of the dragons in your hand. I feel like one dragon in the hand, if that Rag was an Azure Drake or any dragon really, then Kin would have been in an awesome position right now. But as it stands, just needs to sit here and figure out a way to deal with this board. It's likely to be either a 2-3 Alexstrasza champion or just a coin into the monkey. But
I felt like he was a bit greedy with his mulligan, like keeping 2 Alexstrasza champions and a monkey and just only taking out 1 card and hoping that 1 card would have been a dragon.
That is a really good point that you make, because he actually does have 2 Frothing Berserkers and 2 monkeys, as well as a Ravaging Ghoul. So very good chance he actually picks up a 3-drop, even if he mulligans away that Fierce Monkey. So I have to agree with you there that I think that keeping the monkey in particular was, you know, a bit greedy. All right, well, on the side of Chong here, a few options. He can go ahead and Abusive plus Lightning Bolt and clear this board and keep both of his minions alive if he so chooses, which is pretty nice, obviously. He can also go for Maelstrom Portal, and he does keep both alive at the same time, but drops both of his minions to 1 health and 2 health respectively. So it's pretty tough.
Yeah, and I mean, like, getting the what's it called? Being able to only use 3 mana next turn is still fine for ChongGEr because you can still just use the Tusker.
Yeah, and
so
there's also you know, the point to make that maybe he goes for the Abusive onto the Tunnel Trog, takes out the monkey, and then Lightning Bolts the Sir Finley, just so no execute can happen unless there's a commit to the thing here. So. Alright, he does end up going for the Maelstrom Portal in the end. Gets a 1-3. Obviously, unless he gets Healing Totem, he's not going to be able to use that Northshire Cleric. But that said, it is actually kind of threatening here for Kin. You know, he kind of wants to kill it before a Healing Totem comes out.
Right, and this is just... Sometimes this kind of thing happens where you just don't get any dragons until like turn 8 or 9. It's just very sad. But I think he's going to have to... He could hero power down the Totem Golem and even use his Blood to Ichor on the...
Right. The issue... The thing is, this seems weird, right? Because you would normally Blood to Ichor onto the Northshire Cleric. Okay, he's going to go ahead and ping away the Tunnel Trog. But a lot of times you would ping the Totem Golem and then Blood to Ichor the Northshire Cleric to get them down low, you know, if that was a standard 1-3. But that allows your opponent to get double draw, potentially, if a Healing Totem comes up. And actually, there are 4 out of 7 that are great here. Speaking of the, you know, obviously the 3 non-hero totems, and then the Healing Totem is great here.
Wow.
Does get the Totem Golem. So
that's practically like a 6-6.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. Yeah, 6-6. That I saw someone make a graphic out of that, right? Just the Tuskar Totemic, just 6-6. Those are his stats. Those are his baseline stats. No big deal. Right, Kin, he needs a dragon, picks up the dragon,
There we
finally, but a
go.
bit too late. Feel like he could have controlled the board extremely well up to this point. Does get to kill this North Star Cleric, so no drawing free cards from here on out, but ChongGEr still in the driver's seat as of this moment.
Yeah, that's right. And we were probably going to see him drop down the thing from below on his turn 5, where he's overloaded for 1 mana crystal. And he can just trade off his Totem Golem into the Alexstrasza Champion.
One thing to
or
keep
he
in
could
mind,
just ignore
yeah,
it.
exactly. One thing to keep in mind is that there is no armor up anymore. So every single point of damage is permanent. There's no armor smith either. There's nothing like an Alexstrasza, for instance. So he could just go face here. The one thing to keep in mind for ChongGEr is that he knows now that his opponent has finally picked up a dragon. And the Alexstrasza Champion came off the left side. So now ChongGEr's thinking, okay, he actually had those in his hand the entire time. He just finally picked up a dragon here. And that makes it a bit more difficult because if there's a Blackened Corruptor, which we see is in the hand, then he can go ahead and take out the thing from below with that. So ChongGEr deciding to go ahead and trade here, which ends up working out in his favor because, again, the Blackened Corruptor would have been a pretty reasonable punish.
Yeah, I do like the trade there because the Blackwing Corruptor could just kill his thing from below. But here he's going to just Blackwing Corruptor and kill the...
Probably
the
Tuskar.
Tuskar, yeah. So he can just ping down later the 3-1 Totem Golem.
Right. It would take 2 turns of healing Totem to be able to get the health above that anyway. Wow, that's a friendly Faceless. All right. Kin's going to need Execute right quick after this because I feel like this card is coming down.
Actually, he could just put the Flame Tongue and...
Well, he can get the value trade too with the Totem Golem.
yeah.
Right? And then the thing is, even if your opponent has
That's
Execute, typically they need to use 3 mana to do that anyway. And your opponent's left with 3 mana, which means they're not doing much. And you still have a 7/5 thing from below, as well as the Flame Tongue Totem. So I feel like the Flaming Faceless, this is one of the safest times to put it down. Your opponent really can't deal with your board no matter what.
Actually, yeah, that's just exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say he was going to put down the Faceless, the Flame Wreath Faceless with the Flame Tongue and the trade off the Totem Golem into the Blackwing Corruptor and go face with the thing from below.
He could actually go face as well, though.
Yeah, but I wouldn't because it's
Right.
mid-range versus mid-range pretty much. Or well, actually
Well, it's
no, it's aggro versus... It's
Right.
all about controlling the board. And we know that Dragon Warrior is actually favored against any type of shaman. But it's just that Kin did not get his dragon synergy at the start, did not get the Fiery War Axe, could not use the Alexstrasza Champion, so this is why he's behind right now.
Yeah, it's always nice to set up lethal on board as well. And that is going to be it. Kin does not pick anything off of the Drake, not like it would have mattered anyway. 1 mana to his name. And that's going to be game here for ChongGEr. Takes the unfavored matchup, which is extremely important for this series overall. He's going to go up 1-0.
Yeah, that was a very... It's a very simple game when the Dragon Warrior does not get the dragon synergy.
That's basically what the game came down to, right? Just
Yes.
if he got the dragon synergy, felt like Kin would have been a really strong spot there. Obviously, ChongGEr picked up some really nice cards to help out his curve and make things really awkward. But you know, if he had to deal with Alexstrasza Champion 2 turns in a row, you know, coin into that minion on turn 1 and on turn 2, things would have been a lot different. Would have been much harder for ChongGEr to develop onto the board.
Right, I'm sure Kin definitely wanted to defeat his aggro shaman with that deck, but it didn't work out for Kin. But we'll definitely be seeing that Dragon Warrior again, and it could do okay against. It could go. It's pretty much 50-50 against ChongGEr's Hunter, and it could do okay against his Mali Druid.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of situations where a lot of the top decks just kind of do reasonably well against each other, right? We're in this meta where there's no extremely polarized matchups, with the exception of when, you know, Freeze Mage pops up. And so yeah, he could just definitely go with the Dragon Warrior again, but it wouldn't be a heavy favorite against either of the decks that ChongGEr has remaining. It would just be reasonable.
Yeah, it's okay. 50-50. It really depends. I mean, I feel like token druids or Mali Druid can do okay against Dragon Warrior if they get their ramp. Otherwise, they'll be in trouble. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that is something to keep in mind because the Malagos, if they don't get the ramp, and there's actually 1 Myra Keeper, if I remember correctly, in ChongGEr's deck, and there's no taunts. There's no Druid of the Claw, there's no Ancient of War, just all of that burst damage at the end from the Malagos. So you really have to get into a good spot and keep up with the Dragon Warrior, or else, you know, there's no there's no putting up an Ancient War and hoping they don't have execute and essentially clearing their entire board that way. So it makes it a little bit more difficult for the Malygos Druid. So, you know, that all said, probably going to see Kin just bring out the Warrior, and hopefully it goes against the Druid. But on the side of ChongGEr, maybe he, you know, decides better and goes with the Hunter.
Yeah, anything goes. I mean, either way, you have to win with each of your decks, and
just go to random. What is that site? You go to the random, you know, the RNG, you know, basically the dice roller, or you just have a dice in your pocket or a die in your pocket. And just roll that, go with that.
Or just close your eyes and click on a deck, except for the.
And then you
one.
click on the wrong deck,
Yeah.
and then you get disqualified, and then yeah, oh, it feels bad.
Yeah, your banned one.
Yeah, automatic disqualification.
Yeah,
Well,
but I mean, a strategy for Kin against the Druid could just be like, keep smorking, and then maybe eventually he could just, since there's no taunts anyway, right?
Right. The hardest thing about that you're playing Druid against the Dragon War is actually the Fairy Dragons.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
things are just a pain because you need to actually get on board first. And if you as the Dragon Warrior, if you continue to clear the board and leave space for your Fairy Dragon, you can't kill it. There's no way to kill it unless there's some sort of spell
swipe
damage.
and a hero power.
Right,
is
exactly.
the only way a
Turn 6, we did it. We finally.
I know.
We only took 18 damage from that Fairy Dragon.
Or I mean, your living roots can, like, your saplings.
Right,
can
but
take
then
it down.
but then he plays Ravaging Ghoul, and then he goes face again. Then you have to use 2 mana to kill out the Fairy Dragon. And then you're taking more damage from the Ghoul.
I
And then
feel like
you
it's-
go home and cry and kind of get in the field position because Fairy Dragon is beating you into submission.
Yeah,
That's the ladder, guys.
we'll see. It all depends on what cards they have in their mulligan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the cards in the opening hands of both players certainly does matter. I'm not really sure what the delay is. I think they're just choosing their next decks. Obviously, a lot of mind games.
Yeah, they're just taking their time, thinking it really through. Actually, I was thinking that each person was gonna ban either a shaman or warrior. That's usually the go-to, right?
All right, well, it looks like we are finally going to get into the game, and it's going to be the disco log here from Kin. Going to change it up just a little bit, and on the side of ChongGEr does decide to go for the Druid in the end. Keep in mind, these players they know the contents of each other's decks, so ChongGEr is not going to be mulliganing potentially for any sort of Reno lock or what have you. Knows exactly that this is the discard lock on the side of Kin, and will mulligan appropriately.
So here we go. ChongGEr has his living roots and his one Mire Keeper in his deck. I do like the Mire Keeper. He could actually just like mulligan out the Arcane Giant, even the living roots and the Raven Idol, and just look for more ramp. But I guess he's going to keep the living root for early start. I guess actually the living roots is actually great against the discard zoo.
Yeah, the Living Roots is excellent. The Raven Idol not as necessary. I think the Mire Keeper is definitely a good keep because he knows he doesn't have any more Mire Keepers in this deck. And drawing another Mire Keeper can mean that your start's a little bit slow. Also, one thing to keep in mind is that he's going second, so he can coin into the Mire Keeper on turn 3, which is pretty powerful. He's going to go for the Coin Wild Growth instead, though, and looks like he's aiming to Living Roots something down next turn.
I totally
Close to your power.
don't disagree with this because against an aggro, it's okay for a druid to coin into wild growth, and sometimes that's actually the winning play.
This
already.
is a big deal. 1 in 3 to get another 3/3 on the board with his Darkshire Librarian, and he also draws a card. So wow!
Oh my gosh!
Oh my goodness. Okay, and draws a card. 0 downside. Just gets a free 3/3 on the board with that Silverware Golem.
Sometimes lucky, you know.
Yeah, ChongGEr throws out the well played and starts to hug his pillow a bit because he's going to need that reassurance, that comfort.
He could living roots and hero power down the 3/3.
Right, yeah, and then you're leaving the Darkshire Librarian. That's the worst thing about this Darkshire Librarian, right? Because it's already produced a 3/3, drawn a card with the Malgazar's Imp, and if you kill it, it gives your opponent more field because it draws a card. Pretty insane.
I have to think the Moonfire looks pretty good here, but
Yeah,
all of them actually look pretty good. But I'm guessing he's thinking of Nourish to just ramp up.
It's kind of hard to ramp up, though, when you're facing down 6 damage on the board already. This is more looking like swipe. I suppose you can go for the Starfall for a pretty big clear. Also, it's something that your opponent won't expect. And let's go for the Starfall. So it's kind of the surprise element, right? Even though and he's looking at the Myra Keeper next turn, and after that he can go ahead and Starfall when his opponent really isn't expecting that sort of board clear, and just leaves his board at 2 health.
But it's actually going to be really tough for ChongGEr to come back, because that swing alone at the start with actually discarding the Silverware Golem was a huge swing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, if you look at Kin's hand, he just has refill for days. Once you clear this board, he's like, all right, I got another Darkstar Councilman. I got another King boss. I have Knife Juggler plus Direwolf Alpha. I can trade into any minion you have on board and just get a bunch of damage to face as well. So, ChongGEr, even if he tries to come back here, every single turn for the next 4 turns I'm looking at, Kin's going to have something crazy to do.
Definitely. So we are going to... he's got 2 choices here. He can just play the Imp Gang, or he could put actually the Juggler and the Peddler.
Right. He could put the... If he plays 2 minions here, obviously he can get a kind of a value trade with his Darkstar Councilman onto the Myra Keeper. That does leave it vulnerable to Starfall, especially if he plays, any of his, well, basically all of his 2 drops, right? They're all at 2 health. So a Starfall, would be able to clear both the Darkstar Councilman and both of those 2 drops here. So we'll see that.
Definitely can't play around Starfall,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
If you're in Kin's position.
Right. This is exactly why ChongGEr picked Starfall, by the way. He figured it would be a big surprise for the opponent. And I believe we're going to see... Well, Malkazar's Imp could actually go in now instead.
Yeah, that actually seems better.
Just to play around any sort of craziness. Kin saw 2 Raven Idols, so he's a bit concerned. And you can see he's thinking about it.
I mean, you always want to usually go face for more damage, and now ChongGEr's actually nodding his head. Is like, this is great. I could actually kill 3 minions with the Starfall.
Well, as good as you can hope for, considering he's in such a bad position to begin with. And Kin says, you know what, even if he somehow picks Starfall, he's floating a mana, and I'm still going to have a 3/3 and a 1/1 that draws me cards. So it's not the worst situation for Kin, even the worst case scenario.
I mean, it's also nice because ChongGEr could just swipe later, like a next turn, possibly.
Right. And that's what ChongGEr's thinking about. So, yeah, it looks like ChongGEr has found a way to make this a game after that crazy start here from Kin. Kin's going to decide what to do this next turn, and you can tell he's a bit worried about that swipe. Can't just go for the Darkstar Councilman, but that would leave him vulnerable to the swipeless hero power.
Right, it's either Councilman into Peddler or the Imp Gang and the Peddler.
Right. So this is going to be his board now. Obviously can't play the 1 drop after this, which means that ChongGEr, if he picks up an Innervate, just clears the board. And this draw is pretty huge here. Hasn't picked up an Innervate all game and does not either this part. So as painful as it is, you really want to develop the board, but... Oh, okay.
Maybe he's hoping to...
This is very risky on the side of ChongGEr because there's quite a bit of burst in the discard log with the Soulfires and the Doom Guards.
Actually, yes, it's very risky. His Councilman could just keep growing and actually trade into the Teacher.
Well, 8 damage on board, and there is 2, 3, 4, 5 more damage in hand. Yeah, 2 damage off lethal here is Kin, if I've done my math correctly. He could also get a value trade onto the Teacher with the Darkstar Councilman, but you're leaving yourself open to the Drake swipe. So yeah, look, going back on ChongGEr's turn, he just really wants this Drake swipe to do a whole bunch of work, and he just says, you know what, I gotta take a risk here, and if I go for the safe play of swipe, then I'm leaving myself open to the Drew just flooding the board again.
Yeah, I mean, I understand ChongGEr's play. Kin has many options, but he's actually just thinking what is the best thing. And I know he's definitely keeping in mind that his opponent has a swipe. And he's thinking of the best way, like which is the best minion to actually buff up with the Defender of Argus.
Alright, he's going to go at it this way, which leaves him somewhat vulnerable to swipe here with the spell damage.
And I actually agree with not trading into the Teacher at all.
Right.
Because if he does have a Yogg, and he's going to,
Oh, right, yeah, he's concerned about Yogg, you're right. You're absolutely right. Sorry, go ahead.
His whole board would just die, possibly to Yogg, and also the Yogg could just kill ChongGEr's face.
So ChongGEr looks like he's going to go for the Drake Swipe. Really no way around it. Wow, if he had one more mana or some sort of coin or iterate, this would be pretty ridiculous. But unfortunately not here. And can ChongGEr stay alive, actually? Can
Feral Ray? Oh, no.
No, he can't.
He can't.
Because the Defender
can't
of Argus. Defender of Argus and the White Walker lives there. So well played by Kin being able to navigate that and brings it back to 1-1.
That's usually the case. Like when you're aggro facing the druid, all you just want to do is go face before you see that Yogg come down and destroy your board.
Yeah, exactly. It feels safer to clear the board, but when you put your opponent on such low health that anything can kill them, then all of a sudden they have to, bend over backwards just to stay alive, and that's value in and of itself.
And you know that little argument people like saying, oh, you can't play around Yogg, but people are sort of kind of playing around.
Yeah, they're figuring out how to do
Yogg.
it, right? They've counted the spells. I think at that point it was like 7 spells played, so not totally guaranteed to, or not very likely, I should say, to clear the board. There's only things like Flame Strike or Twisting Nether or Doom that can actually clear everything. Other than that, it's just a bunch of obviously random spells in random places.
Definitely. I mean, yesterday, TJ and I were casting a match. It was Tempo Mage versus Tempo Mage. And it basically felt like your fate depended on whatever your Yogg was going to be like and his Yogg was going to be like.
Right. And then there's also the consideration about, do you play your Yogg first? Do you wait until their Yogg so you can clean up their Yogg with your Yogg?
No, you make a board first and then hope.
All right, looks like. All right, so guys, if you want to talk about this tournament, go ahead and tweet at hashtag, or excuse me, just put hashtag, Hearth SEA Major, and join the conversation. We'll put your tweets on the screen here.
Yeah, tell us which players you want to see make it to #1.
Make it to that $2,500 first place prize and the 15 points. I gotta say, I'm rooting for the Story of Throne, just to be able to win and get into the last call.
Oh, you're going back from your draft.
Oh, I don't actually.
You made a draft with all of us.
Wait, who did I pick actually? I forgot. Well, Ping
Fail
was already
fish.
out.
Oh,
I picked Tom.
You picked 2 Taiwan players.
Right,
And
but
so
Tom's out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I still have
exactly.
my player. Gigi Leoz was one of my picks. So, and he's in the winners. So, looking forward to possibly seeing him, reach #1.
All right, you're a better fantasy esports Hearthstone drafter than I am. Yeah, we did have a little pool between the casters. Well, not for any money, obviously, but yeah.
No, you're buying drinks. You're buying drinks now.
That is news to me. But, well, I guess by picking 2 players, I've already gone out. I kind of like my picks. Actually, Ping Ho, TJ and I were really disappointed after we saw his decks. We're like, yeah.
Aww. Well, you know what? He is the shaman god, and I figured he's bored of playing the normal shaman decks, and he wanted to bring something more creative. And if it worked, he would have been the shaman. He would have proved himself as the shaman god. I actually met him, and it was very delightful.
I went down to talk to some of the players yesterday, and Kranich was already just talking to Ping Ho, saying, "Yeah, your shaman's bad. What are you doing? What are you trying to accomplish with that?" And Ping Ho's reply was, "Well, as bad as it did today, I beat everyone on ladder with it." So
I guess just because it's going well on ladder doesn't mean it's gonna do well in the competition, though.
Yep, absolutely.
Game number 3, and Kin has got his druid against ChongGEr's Hunter.
Yep, this is the token druid. No Malagos stuff in here. Just looking at the list here from Kin, there's 1 Moonglade Portal, there's 2 Ancient of Wars with the Yogg and the Thalanos, and 2 Arcane Giants as well. So got that power in there. Some of the players yesterday were preferring the Druid of the Claw in place of that, but those players are out of the tournament.
Yeah, there's a lot of different token druid decks, Mali druid decks. Still, people are still playing around, seeing which is the best one, but pretty much all of them are pretty good,
Yeah.
like all these spells and the Yogg.
Yeah, the Beast Druid doesn't perform that well, but
Oh yeah, the Beast is it fell kind of short. People were actually saying, "Oh, Beast Druid is going to be so OP," and then when we actually got to try it, it felt like it was lacking something.
Right.
And then
not
people
enough,
were
not enough OP cards basically.
Then they started adding
Only
Violent
Menagerie
Teachers,
Yeah.
Fandrels, Power of the Wilds, and then it's next thing you know, it's like, let's just throw in the Yogg, and then
And
next
take
thing
out the
you
Menagerie Warden.
yeah, and then
It's like, oh wait, I've built a token druid.
right.
So this is an interesting play by Kin and very good pickup by ChongGEr here. So Kin was thinking that if he doesn't have a 2-drop, I can Wild Growth. If he does, I can Wrath. And is able to use the Wild Growth here since the Kindly Grandmother isn't really providing much of a threat. But that pickup was extremely good for ChongGEr here. Now he can go into Animal Companion and almost guarantee himself a target for the Houndmaster.
Yeah, as the hunter, you just want to play on curve as much as you can.
Was it just me or did I hear a huffer sound? I was getting... it sounded like a little snort. I'm like, oh wait, that's not... I guess it was the growl from Leog. Leog trying to be a huffer. Never will happen.
And just to get rid of this Leog and just deal with the Kindly Grandmother later, it's not really that much of a threat.
Until...
Until it gets Houndmastered.
Right, the Kindly Grandmother, not even in its wolf form, will turn into a 3/3. Second Houndmaster could be a pretty big pickup if Kin doesn't decide to deal with this Kindly Grandmother. Maybe turn into a 5/5 pre-death rattle. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be just a Drake here, which means that this Kindly Grandmother can get pretty big.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering if ChongGEr's strategy is just go face or actually I think he might have to trade into this.
His deck isn't
Drake.
completely aggro based, so he can sort of play the late game. Obviously with Call of the Wild, you're going to be able to do that. So Kin decides not to go for the Innervate into Living Roost to take out the Houndmaster here, wants to save that Innervate for later. And Deadly Shot comes into the hand of ChongGEr. He does know that his opponent runs the double Arcane Giant as well as the double Ancient of War. So unlikely to see the Deadly Shot here since it's not super necessary. He can get the value trade with the 5/5 Kindly Grandmother or trade in his Houndmaster. Either way, just thinking of the best way to go about it. He can actually play on curve as well and just go for the bow. But the thing is, weapons have charge, so you don't need to develop it right now.
I actually don't mind the Deadly Shot here though. I mean, if he Deadly Shots this and just plays the huge Toad and then just goes face, and then just Houndmasters something later and Hero Powers, you know, that's still a lot of damage.
Right, yeah, 7 damage to the face would bring the opponent to 15. Your opponent would need Innervate into the Ancient of War to be able to get that. So, but he's going to go with, instead, the Eagle Horn Bow. This is 6 damage to face. Look, probably going to trade here, or else they're in a bit of trouble with that Drake.
This is also really good. Still allows him to deal a lot of damage when he has an extra charge with that bow.
On the side of Kin, looks like it's going to be the Living Roots after the Drake. Going to kill off the Toad instead, and this ping is actually pretty important. Does hit the Drake, which means that ChongGEr can kill it off with his face.
Ooh.
And, well, he could just go all face, actually.
Yep, he can actually. That's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
That's 10 damage to the face. Or I think he should just kill.
He can get his opponent to 6, and then he has Quick Shot Hero Power. If he does kill the Drake, though, it's very difficult for Kin to deal with this. He can't put up an Ancient of War because it just gets Deadly Shotted, so I don't think that the 3 damage to face is necessary. ChongGEr has time on his hands with that Hero Power, and if your opponent... The weird thing about the situation is going face actually gives your opponent more time, potentially, to do things like Feral Rage because they can more easily clear your board.
I actually... Either option is fine, like whether he trades into the Drake or hits the face. But I mean, it depends also how like he's got 2 kill commands still left in his deck, right?
Right. I think that just Hero Power will win in the game though.
Yeah.
And there's only so many times that your opponent can heal up essentially. But does end up going face here. If he doesn't have the Feral Raids, then this ends up just being game for ChongGEr. There's no real way to come back here for Kid. Barring an Innervate into Yogg next turn, but only 4 spells have been played thus far. So I can see the thinking here from ChongGEr saying, you know what, you don't have much time, I'm going to give you as little time as possible. And on top of that, you need to clear every single minion if you don't put up a taunt right now.
Yeah.
Including the big bad wolf.
Yeah, that's actually... I think ChongGEr made the right plays and just smorked it down before the Druid had a chance to do anything.
Yep, and this looks like it's going to be game. He can Innervate into Swipe and then clear off the Beast or the Houndmaster, but that's going to be game regardless. Can't see any other play that would come closer to leaving him alive as well. So yeah, gonna be a swipe and gonna leave up a 3-2. It's the exact same thing, it's just swiping the other way and killing off the Handmaster, and that's going to be on the side of Kin. He thinks he's 1 damage off dying, but quick shot in hand means that ChongGEr's gonna take a 2-1 series lead.
That's right. He was just hoping that his opponent did not have a damage, but you know, knowing the Hunter, they most likely have some sort of damage waiting in their hand. That's why they went face.
Right. It was a tough situation regardless, right? Even if your opponent didn't have lethal there, you still have to get healing off the top. So not the best situation there for Kin and ChongGEr. He is proving himself as a player who has consistently done well in tournaments. He got 4th place at the Singapore Major. That you were there, right?
Yes, the Singapore Major, yeah, he got 4th.
And he actually got 3rd. He got to the semifinals of the SEA Winter Prelims, so he was 2 matches off getting to the APAC Championship in the Winter stage, and that was the one that Staz won. He actually did lose to Staz in that tournament. So ChongGEr has been very consistent. Will he be able to get his first championship at a Major LAN event here? He is 1 game away from going to the semifinals of the upper bracket and only has his Malagos Druid left.
That's right. He is actually one of Malaysia's top players, and that's why we always see him in a lot of tournaments on the ladder. And actually, he's on a team. It's called M8 Gaming, which is a Malaysian team.
Right. I believe that's one of the top teams in Malaysia.
And I'm sure he represents them very, very well.
Yeah, he has done so very well at this tournament, certainly.
So he's on his last deck right now, and that is the Mali Druid,
Yeah,
right?
the Mali Druid. As for Kin, he has the Dragon Warrior and the Token Druid left over. So 2 pretty strong decks. Kin is still in this thing. And what do you think that Kin should bring up here? Should he bring out the Dragon Warrior or should he bring out the Token Druid?
I feel like he can. Either one is fine, actually, but I think he should just bring the Dragon Warrior and just kill.
just win the game.
Or
easy reverse.
Yeah, I guess so. Or he could just. I think that the harder matchup for Kin would be the Druid against Druid because it's a mirror match, and
right.
If he takes that, then I think his Warrior could have a slightly easier time. I don't know. Like, I think Warrior can take it from Druid if the Druid doesn't get any around.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think I'd rather go with the Dragon Warrior this time around. If he does go for the Token Druid, there is the issue that your opponent's kind of playing with the added benefit of, the old combo, right? The combo did 14 damage. He has Malagos into double Moonfire. You're always living in fear of that, and you kind of have to play very defensively if you ever get behind in the damage race. So a bit of an unfair situation there. You can grab the board with your bigger minions, but can be quite difficult. So yeah, we'll see what Kin decides to go with. The casters have argued for the Dragon Warrior. But,
I actually want to see the Malay Druid against the Token Druid, though. Let's see how these two decks, how these 2 decks face off together. Like, we definitely need to see which is the better Druid, like. But
one game sample.
Yeah, I mean, 1 game only. You need thousands of games to actually figure out which is the better deck out of the 2. But I mean, I feel like you might as well just go with your the toughest match first and get it out of the way.
Yeah, certainly. And the thing is, if these players want to be advancing to the later stages of the day, then they don't really want to be fatiguing, and there's no extra points for making the score close. So I certainly agree that, given that they know the contents of their opponent's decks, sometimes when you don't know exactly what's in the deck, you're like, well, I might figure something out, so let's play the strongest deck, get that win in, and then you can play afterward. But they know the contents of their opponent's deck, so might as well just get the shortest day in possible. If you lose now, and save your energy for later. They are in the upper bracket, so they still have a chance if they fall into the lower bracket there. And yeah, we can actually talk about the Dragon Warrior as well. I do like this list quite a lot. It tops out at Rag and Grom, no Deathwing, no Onyxia nonsense. Just kill your face before turn 8. And 1 gold, 2 Frothing Berserkers, 1 Nazar's first mate, as well as obviously the Sir Finley for that Curator synergy. And just kill you as quickly as possible.
Seems like a pretty standard Dragon Warrior. I feel like every Dragon Warrior has the Curator now, and it's just like mixing up whether they're gonna have a Deathwing or keep the, like, I know some people don't even play Grom in their Dragon Warrior, like that's a thing, and there's even sometimes they even use the bookworm. That's,
Sometimes.
Yep.
I think people use Bookworm for about a week, and then they said,
Oh.
you know what, I think I'd rather have a 9/9.
No, I've seen people. There's people in this tournament that brought bookworm in their Dragon Warrior.
They're still holding on for dear life. They're like, I think this is still good. Anyway, we are getting to the Druid versus Druid matchup. Not a mirror. It's going to be Token versus Malagos. Many of the same cards, obviously, but there is the difference in the Moonfires and the Malagos there for that end game burn. Also, no taunts on the side of ChongGEr here, so that's something to keep in mind.
Well, I'm happy Kin was decided to pick his Druid and thought, yeah, let's just get this mirror match sort of, well, not really mirror, but kind of the same class match out of the way.
Yeah, a lot of interesting dynamics in this matchup as well. You know, for the Dragon, you're just kind of trying to hit the face as much as humanly possible without getting punished, whereas this matchup, it's a lot more nuance.
Yeah, ChongGEr's just gonna wait it out here and innervate into his Mire Keeper.
Yep. Innervate Mire Keeper into the Fangel the following turn, or coin into Drake if he feels like he has something better to do or doesn't want his Fangel to die. Kin, on the other hand, has, you know, obviously the ramp on his side as well. So it's going to be Wild Growth into Innervate Mire Keeper into Mire Keeper. We're just going straight into turn 5 in this game. ChongGEr does pick up that Innervate, which helps him in the future potentially, especially with that Arcane Giant in hand. This looks like, oh, okay. Just gonna go with the Fangel. It doesn't have anything to pair with the Fangel, but this is telling Kin, if you have a way to deal with this, you have to deal with it now, and could bait out the mulch right here.
Yeah, I like that play of the Fangel. Oh, okay, he's gonna...
Yeah, he's forcing out the mulch here. And the thing is, other than the Arcane Giant, there's nothing really else to mulch. And Kin says, if I can get ahead on the board right now, then hopefully I can deal with the mulches, or excuse me, with the Arcane Giants later. We have a Gorilla bot A3. I don't believe there's any mechs in the deck of ChongGEr though.
He has the option to take out the Drake with a Azure Drake, innervate into Wrath. But
Yeah, does not go for it. If he does go for that, he doesn't have much of a turn next turn, except for going for a 3/4 for 4, or essentially for 6 because you're hero powering.
I think the Ancient of War is great here and just trade into it.
Yep. And no real way to deal with this on the side of ChongGEr. Picks up a Wild Growth, completely useless right now.
Yeah, his falling turn was going to be kind of weird either way.
Is he going to go to Malagos or Arcane Giant here? Just Malagos, just Tempo Malagos, let's go. He can Wrath the kill, I believe, so 3 plus 8. No, he
Well,
can kill, kind of.
He's seen a mulch, so he's not scared for his Malagos.
Right, that certainly makes sense. Very cool play here from ChongGEr. And the Wrath is 6, so he can actually just Wrath for the card draw, which is 6, and then kill off the Ancient of War here.
He wants to get rid of this already.
Right, and Kin's just going to go ahead and put as much damage on the Malagos as possible, set up for future kills. Even if his board dies, he does have the swipe in hand, and a Feral Rage picked up here for ChongGEr, so he can, yeah, he's going to go ahead and kill it off with the Wrath here. Can go and Feral Rage to kill off the Drake as well, or Moonfire.
He could just, yeah, take it out with a Feral Rage. And does he want to do the Moonfire
Just
now
Fireball
to
the
the
face for Fireball face for 0 mana. He could go for it. Maybe not super necessary, but.
Well, he doesn't know that his Malagos is about to die, so he thinks like it's best to just save it.
Right. The 6 damage to face doesn't really matter unless they're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
And it looks like Kin's not close to dying.
You'd actually want to use the Moonfire against like an Arcane Giant also.
I think that he maybe could have just gone for the Moonfire onto the Drake last turn and save the Feral Rage. It wouldn't be very mana efficient, but he could have played the Gorilla bot as well.
Yeah, he could have.
Well, in any case, ChongGEr cannot deal with his Battle Teacher, even with the combined might of Moonfire, Living Roots, and Hero Power.
Yeah, that teacher is going to live, but I think it is time to put out the Arcane Giant.
He can play Gorilla Bot, Moonfire, Arcane Giant.
Yep, that's totally fine.
Or he can also fill in the, or he can play out the Living Roots as well, obviously. but not sure how much value that would be. He can actually just prepare for Yogg next turn if he feels like his board might get cleared. So he might just go for all of it other than Yogg. And it looks like he is. So it seems like. Oh, no, just hero power. My mistake.
And then just play the Arcane Giant.
Right. Doesn't. ChongGEr just hates his Gorilla Bot. He's had several turns of play. He's like, nope, not 3-4, not good enough for me.
Awkward. I mean, it only has value really when you have mechs.
Just gets a mech off of the Yogg, no big deal. Alright, well, Kin is going to go ahead and Wrath for draw, I believe.
I think it's time to bring out his Arcane Giant also.
How much, what does that say on the Arcane Giant? It's kind of cut off at the top there. Is that a 6?
Seems like it is a 6 right now.
Probably a 6.
Because it looks the same as the Moonglade portal.
Right. It's kind of narrow on the right side, thick on the left side. Which means he can play it. Does it turn into a 5? There, it looks like a 5. Okay. Alright, let's pick up another Arcane Giant. Alright, we've gotten word from production that it is a 5-mana Arcane Giant right now. And could we see a Yogg right now is the question. The Arcane Giant, how much did it cost last turn for ChongGEr? It was 6
It became
mana?
5
Became
for
5, so
ChongGEr.
he can Moonfire, and he'll have played 8 spells. But it looks like he's just going to go for the Raven Element first. Wants to pick up Mulch, I would imagine. Gets Naturalized, which is not the greatest, but it does deal with the Arcane Giant. The issue here for ChongGEr is that he doesn't know that Arcane Giant's already in the hand of Kin, so he might be giving him a second Arcane Giant.
He could actually even Mark of Nature his Arcane Giant. That's another option, and just kill the teacher for now.
Does use the Naturalized, excuse me. And just gonna push damage to face. Has already seen 2 Wraths, so just wants to finish out this game as quickly as possible. Particularly since he knows he's probably going to be Yogging next turn.
Yeah, we know that ChongGEr's game plan is just to use all the spells and eventually just use his Yogg.
So it was 5 last turn. He's used 3 spells just now, so that's going to be 10 spells total. I mean, it was 5. The cost it was 5. So.
Sandral,
Yeah,
Nourish, Power of the Wild, but that's if he can take another 8 damage to the face.
Yeah, he can actually go Moonglade Portal into the Arcane Giant as well. The only issue there is that he can't kill off the Gorilla Bot in that situation. So you're kind of healing for 3 if you do go for the Fangirl Nourish Power of the Wild. And I don't blame him for going for this play. It's a bit more adventurous.
It's probably the best play. Maybe he can draw into more spells. And
Yeah, Innervate
there we go.
would help him get out.
Wow.
Ooh.
This is so juicy for the Fandral.
This is pretty juicy, I have to agree with you. He's thinking about the Raven Idol. I think that Living Roots is pretty nice as well to get 2 2/2s onto the board for 1 mana.
Gotta do it fast.
He needs to really pick as quickly as possible, right? Arc
Right.
Fighter.
Oh
Okay,
my
Mulch
goodness.
seems good. Okay, Power of the Wild, take out the Gorilla Bot. All right. We got it all done. And that's a pretty massive board. Yogg, you have your work cut out for you.
Okay, it's definitely time to Yogg now.
It is
but
Yogg time.
what is he gonna do with his Arcane Giant? Is he going to
Face all
just
day, every day.
face? Oh my gosh, my greeting.
Just don't even attack with it. Yeah, just don't even attack with it.
No, it's just it might be
get
a
the buff.
waste.
Yeah, I know. I would attack
Right.
face here and go with the. It's either attack the Fandral
Oh no.
or attack face.
This is so scary.
All right, just goes ahead and attack the Fandral. Oh,
Huh? Oh no, he doesn't want a Yogg.
that's not an Innervate. That Power of the Wild's not an Innervate. He can't Yogg yet. He's just gonna wait it out. He has 22 health. He's not gonna die. He says. It's pretty scary considering that.
He's being greedy. He wants to just use more spells, I guess. I don't think he didn't do. He's just pretending. I think. He's just pretending he made a mistake.
Yeah.
Or just-
But he could be dead right now is the issue. 14 damage on the field.
No, I think he's actually pretending to just have no Yogg in his hand. Maybe. I don't know. But then
Kin is 4 damage
Kin
off
would be
lethal.
like, "What is that card in your hand?"
If he gets a charger off of the Moonglade Portal, he wins the game.
I don't know. It's pretty.
Rocket Speculator would win the game right now. Alright, just gets 5. Not too bad. 5/5 taunt.
Yeah, that's a nice.
Not too shabby. And Doesn't really need to use the mulch. You can just go ahead and play the Arch and Horse Fighter as well as the Living Roots, or just either. Also, Living Roots activates the Arcane Giant, so yeah, Kin is in an excellent spot, and this is even tougher for the Yogg to deal with. Good luck, Yogg. Now you really have to play ChongGEr. There's no more waiting.
Yeah, definitely. He's planning to play his Yogg, but if this Yogg clears this whole board, that's going to be pretty good for ChongGEr.
The thing is, he's played one more spell. I don't think one more spell is going to help him clear out this bigger board than last turn.
We'll have to see if whether that extra spell is going to help him or not.
All right, it's 1000% Yogg. There's no way. And quick little prayer. I believe it's 11
Praise
spells.
Yogg.
I believe it's 11 spells. Freeze Trap is okay. Unfriendly Portal is okay, but you need to start clearing the board. Shadow Word Death is great, except it goes under the Yogg. Oh no! Explosive shots. Doesn't clear the best minions out. Forgotten Torch goes onto his own minion here. Tracking is meh. He needs some. He needs to clear the board. That's not going to do it though. Power Shot, okay, sure. Starts clearing off more damage. Okay, Mark the Vow needs to go on his own minion here.
No.
Does not. Refreshment Vendor says, Final Cakes, please! Final Cakes! Alright, well, this is pretty good. I think he. Does he get the freeze effects? I don't think so. Okay, he doesn't actually get the freeze effects.
It's a freezing trap.
Alright, so.
Freezing trap, though.
Yeah, freezing trap is on the board. Kin is probably going to play out or attack with his Violet Teacher first, just to see what it is. Explosive trap doesn't actually kill anything. Neither does Misdirection. Oh, he can go with the Arch and Horse Rider as well, obviously. And 15, 19. That is going to be game here. Kin is going to take it and bring it to game number 5.
Yeah, this long. Actually, all my games that I've been casting have pretty much gone to game 5.
The Hearthstone gods have shined
Wait,
upon
how did
you.
he get the Argent Horse Rider?
Off of the Raven Idol. that Hearthstone APM. Right? He was roping. He was deciding what to do, and he went Raven Idol. With the Fandral, he went into Raven Idol. Could have gone with the Living Roots, but he's like, you know what? I believe in my APM. I believe in my skills here. Picked up the mulch, picked up the Arch and Horse Rider.
Really quickly.
And then played out the Power of the Wild, killed off the Gorilla Bot A3. Finish out the game. Yogg, no problem. I can deal with Yogg.
That Horse Rider did its job against that freezing trap.
Well, Swipe would have won the game anyway.
Yeah, I know. It's just, you know, it was a good if he didn't have Swipe, it was a good minion.
I want to see how good Kin is at StarCraft. Or any other high APM game.
So, what?
Because his APM is off the charts. Hearthstone APM.
Like, what? Does he play StarCraft?
I don't know, but he'd probably be good at it with that APM. I mean, usually Hearthstone APM is like 5, maybe 4. You just click once.
I don't know. It depends. Like, if you're lagging, I know that you can't do your turns really fast. But if you have really fast internet, you could still do your turns even though there's animation going on.
Right. Except when it's, you know, pre-Warsong nerf and then you're playing with patrons.
Oh, yeah.
You have to wait for every single last one to go off.
That's
the best feeling in the world in that era was clicking. You just didn't know what was happening, and you kind of, you know, guesstimated the math, but then you click the Frothing Berserker to the face, and there was just goes like, okay, got lethal.
Yeah, those were complicated days, but I heard they were fun ones.
They were pretty fun sometimes. Patron mirrors were kind of nerve-wracking.
Actually, I remember seeing someone's tweet, bring back
Warsong.
Yeah, Warsong Commander.
Right, getting into game number 5 here. This is a pretty big game for both of these players, and it's going to be, again, the Malagos Druid going off against the Dragon Warrior. Both of these decks have lost already this series, and these decks don't want to be the reason why they fall down to the lower bracket.
But even though, I mean, they still have a chance if they're in the lower bracket.
Right, it's much more difficult, though.
Yes, it is.
It's like, would I rather be on my last leg here, the last match before I die, or be in a very advantageous position going into the semifinals?
But I feel like if you know that you played well and you feel like you didn't misplay.
No consolation prizes.
If you feel like you didn't misplay, then, you know, there's nothing that could have been done. You played your best.
All right, so ChongGEr here has actually a decision to be made. I kind of like going for the coin innervate into the Violet Teacher. As Kin, you're not really keeping execute. Yeah, you might be afraid of some sort of early innervate shenanigans, but really it's only Violet Teacher that's going to be out there as a minion. There's no, you know, Ancient of War, for instance.
That's a really good turn. As there's no way a Dragon Warrior can deal with this. Just
Yeah.
yet. I mean, the best thing that he could have is probably the Fiery War Axe and just like hit it twice.
Yeah, just take 9 damage. We were talking earlier how the Fairy Dragon is just the bane for the Druid decks because you can't kill it, but when you have Battle Teacher in turn 1, it's easy peasy.
Yeah, I know.
Alright, Fierce Monkey comes onto the board here, and ChongGEr does not pick up a 4-drop, but has that Raven Idol to go ahead and pick up a spell. Wrath would be pretty nice here.
Yeah,
as
do
well
you think
as
he
the
could pick
Feral
up
Rage.
anything?
Feral Rage Wrath, pretty good.
Yeah, Feral Rage would.
Living Roots does clear, and provides an extra 1/1, so probably Living Roots here. Or Mark of Nature. He can Mark of Nature onto his 1/1. Actually, he takes less damage that way, but yeah, Mark of Nature is actually just superior. Because he doesn't take any damage.
That's true. He could actually Mark of Nature as teacher.
Right. Would you though? It goes up to the 3/6 and then
Yeah, you
down
don't want to
the
kill.
3/3.
You don't want to kill your teacher.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is strictly better. This is strictly better. Yeah. You're right.
And he's got the Nourish on the turn 5, which is actually really good for him. Anyways, let's go into Kin's hand. Twilight Guardian, or he could take out the teacher right now with Corcoran, but he's not actually
Right.
putting anything on the board, just killing off something.
You are just leaving 2 1/1s on the field, and your opponent either has Nourish or Drake as the best turns here. There is no Innervate into Ancient of War. There's Innervate into Arcane Giant, if he's been counting the spells. But yeah, the thing is, there's not much of a follow-up here if you are ChongGEr, so I think that you're kind of okay as Kin just trading off. And
Yeah, I think the taunt is really good here because this means if he doesn't have any more spells, and if he does just have the Nourish on turn 5, then he's gonna have to eventually. ChongGEr can't go through this Drake if he's gonna Nourish.
Yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind is that the Battle Teacher is probably not going to be healing like it did last turn, so I'm going to go ahead and take it out with the Black Green Copter coming up next turn. The Slight Punish would be a Power of the Wild. But ChongGEr, he's thinking about mana, I think. But he can just play an Arcane Giant for 6 next turn. I think he probably needs the cards.
Yeah, this is a tough call because you do have a Yogg in your hand too, but yeah, it's like you need cards.
If you can
or
help
you're gonna
it,
play the Yogg.
If you can help it, you'd rather not rely on Yogg though, even though you've already played 6 spells. The thing to keep in mind, if he did go for mana, he could hero power down this Twilight Guardian, but I don't think he really cares all that much about the Twilight Guardian.
Oh, this is gonna go ahead and help Kin there.
He's yeah, a bit worried about Ravaging Goal, also a bit worried about the Black and Copter. So this is actually a pretty good turn here from ChongGEr. Would have gotten really punished if he left with the Valid Teacher. And ChongGEr is feeling pretty good about himself. Obviously, he's sad that he's given up board control, but knows he made the right play last turn.
ChongGEr was actually playing around Ghoul.
Right, yeah, Ghoul, but he was playing on Ghoul by trading in the 1/1. He's playing around the Black and Copter by trading in the Valid Teacher.
Yeah, but yeah, he was. I feel like he could, well, because I see Kin's hand, he didn't have to trade in all the 1/1s.
Right.
Because Power of the Wild would have been great.
He was leaving it in a situation where he could hero power it down, worst case scenario. Did pick up the swipe, which helped him out quite a bit. But he
Yeah,
could have
that's
gone
true.
for Fandral plus hero power, which would have been reasonable. And looks like we're going to have Alex Champion and Korokon Elite to the face, but going to get pretty punished, I would say, by Fandral plus Feral Rage. Or you can go for the Wrath as well. Both are pretty reasonable here.
Fandral Wrath. Actually,
There can also be Wrath.
either one is fine. But
Right.
yeah, might as well just get the Feral Rage armor right now before the Fandral dies.
If he's trading, he made the wrong trade.
Oh,
Took an
yeah.
extra damage.
Yeah, he took an extra damage.
It just looks better, right? You get your 4 attack, you want to kill off the Korokon, but you had the 3/2 trades into the 4/3.
How did you even... you managed to notice that he went for the wrong minion before it even happened. How'd you do that?
How did I do that? Oh,
You saw the arrow.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is the power of Fandral. You force your opponent to trade a 4/3 into a 3/2, and yeah,
Double Arcane Giant this turn. It's pretty good.
8/8 for 3, not too bad. And Kin is, yeah, wow. Kin is not like this thing as hard as he can right now. He just really double Arcane Giant, and Kin went from a reasonable spot to an absolutely horrible spot in just 1 turn.
Yeah, I think it was really
Execute
that...
though.
That's actually really good. But it was really it was that Violet teacher at the start
Right, yeah.
that did all that work.
Yeah.
It made it hard for Kin to catch up.
Yeah, allow ChongGEr just to play spells out for, you know, more value than you normally obviously get for it, because every single turn was an extra 1/1. Kin decides he's going to take out the Blood Mace Downloads. We do see in hand that the Wrath would have been a pretty big punish if he didn't kill that. But Raven, wow. Talk about feeding the Yogg.
I know. A lot of spells.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him cycle the Wrath here. But starting off with the Raven Idol, gets a swipe, gets a Moonglade Portal as well. All of these are really good, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever pick Bite over Swipe, but
it's
yeah.
his playground right now. Anything's good. Moonglade, heal yourself.
Heal yourself. The Wrath doesn't now kill the Drake, but that's okay because you get a 6-drop. Both is the card here, which is not that great.
You know what? He could have traded into the Drake and healed his Arcane Giant, but I guess he probably just wants us to go face with the Arcane Giant.
Right. Yeah, just kind of pressure your opponent. If he does trade here, though, yeah, then it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But he's going to go ahead, take out the slime, make things difficult.
Oh, that minion.
The thing is, for Kin, he wants to just hit the face to kill out the bull for free, essentially, but he also needs to just kill out this Arcane Giant. So either way, it's just not looking too good here for Kin here.
Definitely. That's like all of the Moonglade portals minions are pretty good. So now, yeah, no dragons in Kin's hand.
This does buff up the Frothing Berserker here, and for ChongGEr, that Power of the Wild's kind of nice. The issue here is that he probably wants to Power of the Wild before he Wraths, because then he buffs up the Frothing Berserker.
He's in a weird position now. It's like he doesn't want to Yogg because he's not actually behind.
Yeah. He can Yogg afterward when his opponent, puts a rag on the board or something. But I think the correct play is to go for the Power of the Wild first, and then go for the Wrath, because otherwise you're buffing out the Frothing Berserker. Or if you do go for the Wrath, it would be for 3, then you attack the Frothing first.
I feel like he needs to Power of the Wild first, and then trade into the Frothing with his Bolt.
Oh, he forgot. This is interesting.
I guess he's just ignoring the Corruptor then.
He could still trade into it.
No, it's not going to. Oh, is it? Okay, I guess.
He has lethal on board right now if Kin can't deal with this. And let's see what the... Oh, does pick up Curator. That's one of the best cards in his entire deck, if not the best. Picks up the Monkey as well, obviously, because you're not going to draw anything else off of that card as far as beasts are concerned. So we could finally see a Yogg here, but Drake might make it so he doesn't go for it. Yeah, he's not going to Yogg quite yet here.
Not quite yet. He wants to get value for his Yogg. More minions, please.
Yeah, he says deal with this, and then once you deal with it, then I can play my Yogg.
Right.
All right, Alexstrasza Champion is the pickup here. I imagine Kin wants to continue to armor up. He could.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to get rid of his hero power just yet.
This is really tough for him, though.
It is. He's actually thinking, like, maybe I could just trade my Alexstrasza into the 9/5.
Right. The thing is, he needs to make that trade. He needs to make the awkward trade where he's really only putting 1 damage into it. He could try to get 1 damage off of the Sir Finley, but it would have to be Mage. It can't be Druid or Rogue. That would be problematic. So, yeah, he's just going to grab...
Hero power.
Yeah, just going to go ahead and grab the board here. No lethal for Chong, and nothing to pick up, really. So he... Well, never mind. Every time I think he's going to Yogg, he picks up Azure Drake.
Give him that extra card.
Could we see Moonfire to the face?
No, I think we just save it until the Mali comes.
That is true. I'm getting this game mixed up with the last game where Moonfire was used, or excuse me, the Malygos was used.
Oh no!
Oh my goodness!
That's not a good card that you want to see.
That is the worst card in the deck, I think.
Yeah, that's what you want to see in turn 1. Not.
Alright, well, it looks like he's picked up the Shapeshift here off of the Sir Finley. I think our production team told us that the other ones were the Rogue and what was the other one?
Totem?
Totem, right. So could have maybe gone for some Taunt Totems, but this seems a little bit better. I guess the guaranteed healing, and I think it's time finally for the Yogg.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no,
Still
just
not
kidding.
yet.
Just kidding. We're going to go ahead and kill off this Dragon to Crusher first.
Yeah, it's not a threatening board. It's just a Finley. And then he can just deal with this N'Zoth's first mate.
I suppose if Yogg fails, then, like for instance, if Yogg plays, you know, Siphon Soul, all this kind of stuff, and then like Rag comes onto the field, then ChongGEr could fall behind. I think ChongGEr's saying, you know what, I'm in a pretty good position. I don't need to do this until I see Yogg or Grom. Or not Grom, excuse me, Rag or Grom. Getting these things mixed up.
Execute.
But
oh, wow.
I think okay, unless ChongGEr picks up his third Drake, I think we're finally going to see Yogg here.
I feel like Twitch chat is just going, use the Yogg! Use
Yogg
the
or no
Yogg!
balls! Yeah. Alright. Are we going to see Drake, or is he finally... It could be Malagos. Oh, that's just lethal.
There
Okay,
we
never
go.
mind. No Yogg this game. Going to be just lethal with that Moonfire to the face. And that's going to be a hard-fought victory for ChongGEr. 3-2 over Kin. He moves on to the semifinals of the winners bracket. Kin falls down to the lower bracket.
And that's